Watch this.
And welcome to the Friday 208. We're looking ahead to tomorrow already, and tomorrow around midday, there are a lot of people expected into the downtown Boise area because there are competing rallies set for Saturday. The topic, guns. The group March for Our Lives Idaho is hosting an event to talk about gun violence and gun law reform. And after that event was announced, another group called the Idaho Liberty Dogs organized a counter event entitled Keep Your Hands Off Our Second Amendment Rights. Now, the contrast tomorrow will be a microcosm of the conversation going on nationwide, which was reignited by a school shooting in Texas in recent weeks that left 21 students and teachers dead. Now, the group March for Our Lives Idaho is organized by local high school students who say they shouldn't have to go to school with the fear that there will be a mass shooting on their campus. Ahead of the march tomorrow, I spoke with the co-director of March for Our Lives Idaho, and we talked about the message and goals for the event tomorrow. We also discussed the counter-protest planned and, of course, the concept of misconception when it comes to debating the high-intensity topic of guns in America. Center stage on Saturday in Boise, competing rallies at the state capitol. March for Our Lives Idaho is taking to the state capitol to demand action from lawmakers in response to continued mass shootings across the country.
It's really important to have some sort of action item or multiple action items that people can take right then and there to make action and start making change on what change we're calling for.
Amaya Clayton, a senior in high school, is the co-director for March of Our Lives Idaho. In organizing the event, Clayton says they found clear misconceptions about what changes they're calling for. At least one countergroup, the Idaho Liberty Dogs, claims that, quote, their Second Amendment rights are under attack and that they need to show these anti-gun activists that Second Amendment rights are going nowhere. According to their social media post, they also imply that March for Our Lives is trying to get rid of guns altogether, saying, quote, banning guns doesn't and won't save lives because criminals will always have access to them. Clayton says that's just not true.
No, that's absolutely not what we're about. We value the Second Amendment and we value Idaho's hunting culture. We recognize how important it is. We recognize the importance of having a gun. So what we're really calling for at the end of the day is safe and responsible ownership. We don't want to take your gun away. We just want you to be able to have it safely, to be responsible with it, and to ensure people who shouldn't have guns shouldn't have them.
Clayton says it is frustrating to see countergroups like the Liberty Dogs plan a separate event, adding that one of the goals for their group is to work with gun owners on ideas to make everyone safer.
It's kind of amazing to me how these adults are to show up to a march that we as high school students have planned with their firearms. And it just is kind of wild to me that we're just standing here saying that we don't want to get shot and that we need to see something happen so that we don't have to be afraid to go to school. And adults are just like, okay, we're going to bring our guns and stand there.
The Liberty Dogs Facebook page does reiterate and make it clear that they want a peaceful gathering on Saturday with people standing in solidarity with them. With that said, March for Our Lives Idaho understands that the public exchange of ideas is part of our American system. Still, they have a goal to make changes to promote safety.
What can you do? Everybody has free speech. Everybody has their opportunity to share their opinions.
I did reach out to the Liberty Dogs group on Facebook to learn more about their event for tomorrow and to ask them kind of what their priorities and what their message is. I did not receive a message back this afternoon. Again, the march and the counter protest is scheduled for tomorrow around noontime, so you can likely expect some extra traffic in the downtown Boise area tomorrow around that time. Quick update, a lawsuit filed against State Representative Priscilla Giddings from Whitebird has been dismissed with prejudice by an Ada County judge. Now, Giddings was sued by Boise attorney Erica Birch under the Idaho Public Records Act. Birch filed a lawsuit against Giddings in January, claiming that Giddings wrongfully denied access to public records related to the investigation against former state representative Aaron Von Ellinger. Now, Giddings said that the record she requested did not exist, and a judge agreed, dismissing the case. Well, as you well know, it is Friday. We made it through the week. Congratulations to all of you at home. So let's recap, though, some of the biggest stories that we're all talking through. It's this week's 208 callback. And we'll start with this. It's been the talk of social media for the last week. We've seen so many messages from you about this. Property tax assessments. And if you haven't gotten yours yet, it is on its way. And you may want to sit down when you open that letter. Last week, the Canyon County assessor told us that the average property was valued roughly 40% higher than last year, with some properties up 60%. We talked with Paulette Owsley, who owns a 14 by 52 mobile home, not on a foundation, near West Mountain in Donnelly in Valley County. Now, last year, her property was assessed at $104,000, and according to her tax assessment this year, that value jumped to nearly $357,000. If you're trying to do the math at home, I'll tell you this, it's a 241% increase when you account for the difference in value, not just the overall jump in value. So we talked with the Valley County Assessor's Office to find out what homeowners should be expecting when they open up their bill.
So a lot of people are getting this letter in the mail, and they're looking at that huge jump in their assessed value and thinking, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to pay a fortune in property taxes.
Yeah, that's incorrect, really. The increase in assessed value and the taxes do not go up in tandem. There's some things within Idaho State Code that limit counties' budget increases to 3%. So generally, when the market's going up this much, we'll see taxes stay about the same unless somebody did something above and beyond their market increase, like built a garage or new house or something like that.
So you're saying somebody whose property assessed value goes up 350%, they're not going to be paying 350% increase in taxes?
Not at all. No, because the county derives a levy rate from the total assessed budget for that taxing district. And then they take their budget amount, which is limited to a 3% increase, and they divide the two and come up with a tax rate. So when you have triple the amount of assessed value and the budget can only go up 3%, that drops that tax rate down significantly.
So it's important to remember it's not necessarily a one-to-one increase when it comes to assessed property value and what you actually pay in property taxes. Yes, property taxes are based on the assessed value of your property, but they are primarily based on the budgets of the taxing districts that you belong to in your area. So before you freak out and file an appeal, contact your county assessor's office to find out their budget and how it'll potentially affect your property tax bill. And it's not just property taxes going up. Oh no, we are continuing to set a record almost every single day. Except that record, it's not a good one or one to be proud of. The record, though, is gas prices, as you know. On Monday, the average cost to fill up your tank in Boise was just under $5, $4.97, an all-time record. Well, now on Friday, it's up to $5.08. And some states are trying to help offset some rising costs because of the inflation in the gas prices. So what is Idaho doing? Well, at the moment, nothing. But two Idaho Democrat lawmakers are asking the governor to call a special session. And they're asking to put a pause on Idaho's gas tax for 6 months in order to provide some relief at the pump. Now, calling it a gas tax holiday is the idea. If you didn't know this, right now, you as an Idahoan, you pay 32 cents per gallon on the state's gas tax, meaning for every 10 gallons, you're paying an extra $3.20.
The thing I like about this gas tax holiday is, Idaho families of all shapes and sizes are going to be able to use it, and small businesses will benefit. If you have a fleet of cars, or even if your employees have to travel the state, and this will save your business money. I think it'll get bipartisan support because in every legislative district throughout Idaho, you've got families that are dealing with this. So there's a lot of incentive for us to act.
Now, the money generated from Idaho's gas tax actually goes towards Idaho roads and maintenance. So if it were to be cut, the gas tax that is, that would mean about $180 million lost to the state. But Representative Ruckty, who you just heard from, says that Idaho's budget surplus could help offset the cost. We did reach out to Governor Little's office about this idea. He's the only one that can call lawmakers back for a special session. His office tells us that they are looking into the request, but added that they have already sent out tax relief to Idahoans. And they added to that the governor is also planning to cut taxes even further in the future, though those details have not yet been released. Now, right now, Idaho's state surplus sits at about $1.3 billion.
An electric shock sometimes is needed to make changes the right way. And we removed those books, which I'm glad we did. But let's figure out the process.
About a month after narrowly voting to permanently ban 22 books from district shelves for various reasons, including pornography, the Nampa School Board of Trustees met on Monday night. Their goal? To go over their current policy for removing or banning books, something that they say lacks clarity. But school librarians in the district say that they worked tirelessly on that process, work that they say was essentially tossed out with the decision to just ban 22 books.
Reading these books, analyzing it, seeing if it's appropriate. My viewpoint as a parent and as a librarian and as a citizen went into that. And so there were books that we all felt that were appropriate and some that weren't, but that process wasn't honored. No, we just felt like we wasted our time. But we felt like there was a process already in place and that we were following that process.
Though the meeting was open to the public, there was no time for public comment on Monday. Now, as of Monday night, the district's policy remains unchanged, and another work session is expected to take place in the coming weeks or months. So we'll figure that out as it becomes available, the new policy in Nampa. But less than 24 hours after that meeting, Rediscovered Books gave out more than 1,200 free copies of the books that were removed by the district. Now, those books were donated by members of the public and were available to students, staff, and parents in the Nampa School District. And that giveaway sparked the formation of another group called the Nampa Banned Books Fan Club. And they have organized a read-in for this coming Monday at 6 o'clock outside of the school district administrative building in Nampa. It was about a week ago, last Saturday, that volunteers with the Boise Pride Fest and the North End Neighborhood Association, they put up 60 pride flags along Harrison Boulevard to celebrate Pride Month. Now this year, those flags and flag poles a little bit more sturdy after a dozen flags were either damaged or stolen. Unfortunately, even with those new heavy-duty metal poles and thicker flags, it happened again. And Joseph Kibbe with Boise Pride Festival, he told us yesterday that sometime between Tuesday and Wednesday, 42 out of the 60 pride flags on Harrison were either damaged or stolen. And again, this is for the second year in a row now.
This year just seems a little bit more different, a little coordinated, which is why I think you were getting more of a emotional response from the community because of the scale and the size and the willfulness that was done in two separate incidents.
What does something like this say to you about, I mean, it's the status of acceptance?
You know, it sends a mixed signal. You know, it says to me that there's a few people that maybe just don't quite understand what, you know, acceptance or welcoming is in the community. And I would welcome to sit down and have a conversation with them to help them understand where they're coming from. But from broad perspective, when you have a terrible incident like this, the support from the community is really heartwarming.
We got a lot of messages asking how people can help. And shortly after that story aired last night, the Boise Pride Festival announced that an anonymous donor provided enough funding to cover the cost of replacing the flags that were damaged or stolen. And some more good news, we're told that volunteers went out and put those flags right back up today. Boise police still looking for information about who's responsible for the damages and are considering charges of malicious harassment. If you have any information, you're asked to contact the Boise Police Department. One of the most memorable stories we were able to tell this week technically dates back to 1944. This past Monday marked 78 years since United States troops landed on the beaches of Normandy, kicking off Operation Overlord. It was a pivotal battle of World War II to try to liberate France from German occupation. And the invasion began the early morning hours of June 6, 1944. By the end, 150,000 Allied soldiers would land on those shores. 9,000 would be killed or injured that first day. The surprise attack is still the largest amphibious invasion in history. And the naval component of that attack was known as Operation Neptune, with 5,000 vessels making their way across the English Channel. Now, making sure that they had a clear path were the minesweepers, the first ones through to make sure that there weren't any German mines in the water to take down their ships. 78 years ago Monday, Boise's Robert Haga was on one of those minesweepers. Bob, who's now 96 years old, was born and raised in Roanoke, Virginia, and only moved to Boise about a decade ago to be closer to family. But back in January of 1944, the day after turning 18, Bob signed up for the United States Navy because, as he told Brian Holmes, he wanted to kill Hitler. But also, and mostly because, like a lot of World War II veterans, he just wanted to do his part. Less than 6 months later, Bob was a second class assigned to the USS Chickadee, not knowing what lied ahead other than the Atlantic Ocean.
They didn't tell me anything, just that I was going to be assigned a ship and get on a ship and sail toward England because the Germans had France. We wanted to get over there and sweep the English Channel.
That morning, did you know that this was going to be the start of the end?
No, I did not. We were sweeping in front of Normandy, and they stopped us because the fog was there and the cliff was there. We could see the German soldiers walking along the top of the cliff. Then the fog lifted and the invasion was on. We had front row seats to see all of the action and dead soldiers all over the floor, and we were trying to rescue as many as we could, but most of them were dead. The LCIs were loaded with infantry, and of course, once the ramp went down, they shot off, and a lot of them, of course, drowned, and I still have that in my memory.
Bob has more vivid memories of what happened the day before. His ship, the Chickadee, was one of 11 sweepers clearing the channel before the fleet arrived. The evening of June 5th, one of them found a German mine.
It got one of our sister ships, the Osprey.
It hit the ship near the ammunition storage. The Osprey sunk, and 6 crewmen lost their lives, considered the first casualties of the D-Day invasion.
We took on survivors from that, but it was burning, and when we were trying to lift them up to the ship, the skin would come off, and it was one of the worst memories that I have.
These memories are still pretty fresh for you, aren't they?
Yes, they are. I've dreamt about them and thought about them a lot. It was a traumatic thing for young. My dad called me whippersnapper, but I always remembered it vividly. It was a terrible day, just a mess, just bodies all over the place, and that stayed with me a long time. I can still see it.
The morning of June 6th, Bob said he watched American troops try to take the cliffs of Normandy. What was it like to watch them do that?
Oh, awful, awful. My heart was in my throat, and I'm sure everybody on board the ships that saw that could see that.
When you woke up this morning, did you know what day it was today?
No.
You didn't?
No, it didn't occur to me. my friend Gary in there was telling me, Bob, this is June 6th. Do you know what day it is? I said, oh, it's D-Day.
Does it make you proud or sad to think about this day?
Well, both. Proud that we won, but sad that it cost so many lives.
A feeling that still weighed on him 70 years later.
I went back over to Normandy, and there were crosses as far as you could see in every direction up on top. It was the largest graveyard that I've ever seen.
Do you like telling your D-Day story?
Yes, I love it. I think people your age should know something about D-Day and that the war, not particularly minesweeping or anything, but the whole ball of wax, to have that knowledge of it.
An incredible story. And Bob spent 2.5 years in the Navy, then left to spend 25 years as a sales manager of a shipping company. The same company that developed the modern shipping containers, an industry that began by repurposing old Navy ships. First and foremost, though, thank you, Bob, and all veterans out there for your service. All right, well, thanks so much for joining us here on your Friday. Let's get to some of your comments. We've been seeing them throughout the show. This person says, the theft and damage to pride flag should be considered a hate crime. Long story short, it possibly could be, but Idaho law on hate crimes is complicated, so we'll have to see how that plays out, specifically according to the statute. Jim says, love to see the community coming together to give out free books, not joining in on a giant bonfire to destroy these same books. Just want to put this out there. The books that were removed from the Nampa School District, they're actually sitting in a box in a district office, so they haven't been destroyed or anything like that. But anyways, we'll get to more of that next week. Have a great weekend. Take care of each other. We'll see you Monday.